Hey guys, Vets here. I promised you guys a video on settings and some fundamental stuff. So we're going to go over the settings video right now. This is going to be for PC, but just do your best to match the console settings that you have available to what we run on PC. So let's get into it. I want to start off, we want to make sure that we are set up on full screen exclusive. It's going to help with input latency, so it's going to feel like you're a little more connected to your controller. Make sure your monitor's right, graphics card. Make sure your refresh rate is good. If you have issues, if you feel like you're not at 100 and whatever frames that you're supposed to be at, reach out to me. I can talk you through how to set them up on Windows and through NVIDIA to make sure that you actually are at 180 frames or whatever you're supposed to be on. For NVIDIA Reflex, I run it on plus boost. It just helps keep their GPU and your CPU clock speed higher so that there's no up and down. So it'll keep your system a little more stable while you're running. Everything else on here does not need to change. Everything else is fine. I guess on brightness, I do run it at 60. That's a preference thing. Your monitor will be different, so run what you feel looks good on your monitor. Where Call of Duty tries to hide stuff in dark corners, try to avoid that. So we'll slide over here to the quality bracket. We want to make sure that everything's on this. This is a comp setup, so it's intended to give you the best frames so that you see everything that you need to see. Okay, so right now there's some shakeup in the COD scene, whether or not Fidelity Cast is still the way to go. I'm experimenting with that now. If you like Fidelity Cast, keep it on. Run Fidelity Cast at 90 to 100. You'll be good to go there. If you're going to experiment with me, I'm running NVIDIA DLSS for upscaling, and essentially what this does is it renders the game at 1080p and then uses AI to move it up to 1440p for me. So the visual quality is good. It's still too early to tell whether or not it's just as good or better than Fidelity Cast, but these are the settings if you are going to experiment with DLSS. Make sure frame gen's off. You don't want that. It's in any comp game. You want to make sure that every frame that you're seeing is a real frame, not an AI generated frame. So you want to make sure that this is off. Same for AMD FSR. Ray tracing looks cool, doesn't help us at all. I set my VRAM scale the highest that it can. It's never going to hit this because of the way we're going to do all of our settings. So everything in these textures and details, all this stuff is all going to be on very low or off. Make sure that especially this one, is off. Everything else, very low. I leave bullet impacts on so that when I'm in a range, I can see the essentially the recoil pattern that we're going to go through. We'll hit on that in the next video, but we want to make sure that we have that, okay? I run my cache all the way up. That's a you question on whether or not you have the hard drive space to worry about that. Everything else, shadows and lighting, all very low or off. Environment, same thing, all very low or off. This is to ensure that we're using the least amount of our GPU and so that it has the freedom to pump out higher frames because it's rendering at a lower quality. Okay, field of view. It's contested for a lot of people. Most people run between 90 and 110. If you're a newer player or you're struggling in any capacity, run somewhere between 100 and 105 and just get used to what that is and what it feels like and how to move and all that stuff at 100 to 105. Find somewhere in there and just stick with it. Don't go 120, don't go down to 80. Stick at that 100 to 105 range and run it for hours and hours and hours. And after that, you can kind of critique it and fine tune it the way that you like it the best. But that's where everybody needs to be. That's learning the game, trying to get better. That's where you need to be. Okay. Field of view, ADS field of view needs to be unaffected. You want to make sure that just leave it unaffected. Weapon field of view is on wide. For third person, a vehicle does not apply to us. Camera, these are very important. Make sure your blurs on both world and weapon are off. And please make sure that your first person camera movement is set to 50%. That's the least value. So that's when you're in your camera. Things that are around you that are causing vibrations, they don't cause your head in the game to move, okay? So we want the least amount of influence like that as we can. And I run inverted flashbangs so I don't get flashbanged in real life. So keep that in mind. With that's all of our direct graphics settings. We can go into the controller now, which like there's always arguments here, but this is just a basic layout for new players or players that aren't 100% sure where to start. As you get to understand the systems that are in the game and how they work, You can fine tune these to your play style better, but for now we're just going to run at a baseline setting to set you up for success. So obviously we're going to play on controller. That's where it's at with Call of Duty. That's where it's always going to be at. If you're a mouse and keyboard player, I'm sorry, this isn't the game for it. It works, but it's not near as effective. For your horizontal and vertical stick, okay, for this game, run anywhere between a 1.5 and a 1.75 being the max. Like I said, this is for newer players, so I know that a lot of people think that you can't keep up if you're running at this speed or whatever. I promise you that's not the issue, and we're going to address that later. But for now, pick a sense between most people run at about 1.6. 1.6, 1.65 is the average across the board for all Call of Duty players at a higher skill level. So keep that in mind. There's a reason that they're there, okay? So I run mine at 1.75, and we'll get into why I do that. But it's just down to who you are as a player and what you need, okay? Controller vibrations off, trigger effects off. Now we're going to move into dead zones. So dead zones are a little difficult to understand because everybody thinks that this has a dramatic effect on your gameplay. It does have some effect, but the biggest thing is that it has an effect on your specific controller and what you're running. So on the left stick is where it's across the board. It can be the same, but the right stick really depends on your controller. So if we were to turn on the dead zone test, right, we can see that on my left stick that there's a big red circle. And essentially what that's saying is that there's only 50% of this area for me to use. Now, as you can see, my controller has moved all the way to the side, but I'm at 100%, and then I still have a lot more to go, if you can see that there. So the idea is that the game thinks that I'm moving at 100%, although I'm only moving 50% of my stick. Okay, so I can get to 100% speed, or at least 100% input, faster than other people that would run their dead zone at 99 for the left stick max. Okay, so for the left stick, always run a 1, and for the left stick max here, run between 50 and 70. Figure out which one's comfortable for you to run at. 50 will make you feel a little unstable and a little fast. 70 is a really good middle ground for that. So on the right stick, we see here our whole area is available to us, right? And it allows us to make these micro inputs so that we can control recoil and we can track targets at farther ranges. So you'll see that I run mine at 3. You can run this wherever is comfortable for you to make sure that you eliminate stick drift on the right stick. As you can see, there's a little bit of stick drift over here at 3, okay? But it's not bad at all. I'll comfortably run these up all the way to 10 if I have to, but at 10, that's the point where you can see that it takes so much input just to get it out of that red circle that you really need to look at either replacing the analog, which I can do in this controller, or just outright purchasing a new controller. I run mine at 3, that's where I'm comfortable at. The right stick stays at 99 so that we have that really precision control over our right stick for recoil control and for tracking targets. Left and right triggers are always going to be at 1, okay? That's not controller specific, that's just where they need to be. And they're always stock at like 15. Don't do that. Just run them at 1. You want the fastest input that you can get out of yourself. All right, on the aiming side, on this, you don't have to mess with anything. Just make sure that target aim assist is obviously on. We're going to utilize that a lot. On this one, these are all mandatory settings, okay? You want your transition timing to be at instant. Third person ADS correction time is assist, and your aim response curve is dynamic and it's set to a 1.0 slope scale. These are the settings that you need to get used to running. They offer you the most benefit and most bang for your buck and the most consistency, which is the hardest part about Call of Duty, is being consistent. So this is where you're going to find that. Back to my 1.75 cents, I noticed that I felt a little slower on my snaps in this game, as in my moving left to right or target to target. I felt like I couldn't get there as fast as I could in the previous titles. So I switched to 1.65 to 1.75, but when I'd get in gunfights, I realized that I was overcorrecting a lot. So because of that, I use an ADS multiplier of 0.9, which essentially, when I'm not aimed down sight, I move at 1.75. But when I am aimed down sight, I move at 1.5, okay? So it just slows it down that little bit to where it feels more natural and easier for me to control recoil, track targets that are at farther distance, and even up close. So I don't overcorrect when they're up close. On the movement side, I want to make sure that tactical sprint assist is on with a sprint assist delay of 0. Sprint assist sideways is on. sprint assist backwards is on. Um, this is just going to help your movement. It's going to make you feel snappier. It's going to put you into slides easier. It's going to make you a harder target on the map, which is absolutely what we want. Mantle assist is off, crouch assist is off, corner slices, that is up to you. If it doesn't change how your gun handles, it doesn't change your character model when somebody else sees you. All it changes is your camera goes like this. And so if you want it on, you like it, that's fine, but it doesn't affect anything. Wall jump assist off and combat roll is off. We want to make sure that we're controlling everything that our character does. So movement behaviors, slide and dive behavior, there's only two options here. You can either slide only or you can hybrid. Those are the ones that are going to have the least amount of delay that make when you hit the button, it feels like you went into a slide or you went into a dive like you intended to. There's a noticeable delay between the two, but hybrid is definitely the way to go. If you're not familiar with hybrid, I really, really suggest you learn it and be able to apply it in a game. And we'll go over how to get better at it in our bot lobbies that we're gonna go into. All these other things like wall jumps and activations and wingsuits and all that stuff, they don't really apply to us. On the combat side, nothing here really applies to us either. We're not looking for any Warzone style stuff, and not anything special for us over here. So those are your main graphics and controller settings. Moving into audio, I'll show you what I'm running. The audio mix we want to run is Sucker Punch. Okay, out of all of them, this is the one that I ran last game. This is the one I run this game. I can hear footsteps just fine. If I can hear everything just fine. Like, it's not creating an issue at all. I always just reduce the tinnitus sound because why hear more tinnitus? On the interface side, there's not a lot here. Telemetry is all about what you want to see. It's the numbers that you see in my top left corner, frames per second, my graphics card's temperature, and what time it is. Those are all up to you. I recommend most people just to have them off. They're just a distraction or a coping mechanism for why you're losing a gunfight or something like that. Under readability, we go all the way down here to the color filter settings. I run color filter 2, and I run them on both, and I run them both at 100. This just increases the intensity of which the game looks, almost like a saturation effect. That specific color palette, my monitor, my setup work really well. Experiment with those and see what you can come up with on that. Over here, the only thing that we really want to pay attention to is HUD bounds. We want to make sure that whenever you first get in here, it's going to be all the way out to the edge of your monitor, right? We want to bring the HUD in as close as we can to make sure that everything that we want to see is faster for us to see. The mini map, our ammo count, our kill feed, all that stuff, we have a lot less eye movement. So we want to make sure that all that stuff's pulled in. On your compass and map, make sure your radar is off. Make sure mini-map rotation is on, so that way when you see red dots on your mini-map, you know which direction that they're actually facing from you, instead of having to orientate yourself to the mini-map first and all that fun stuff. The compass is on, yeah. The crosshair stuff, that's all personal preference, how you like it. So just set those to the way that you like those. In the settings side, that's all that we have. And in the next video, we'll cover the actual bot lobby, building a bot lobby, building weapons, some centering stuff, and also some just basic gunfight stuff. So I'll see you guys on the next one.